Over the past few days, Anti-Pope Francis permitted and engaged in joint worship activities with Anglicans in what were Catholic churches in direct opposition to true Catholic teaching. The most notorious of these events occurred on January 25, 2024, when the Anglican Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, celebrated an Anglican Eucharist in the Basilica of St. Bartholomew. This occurred with the explicit permission of Anti-Pope Francis, as Welby mentioned at the start of the service. For those who don't know, the Catholic Church infallibly teaches that Anglican orders are invalid. They don't have valid priests. They don't have a valid Eucharist. See Pope Leo XIII's 1896 bull Apostolicae Curae on this matter. Anti-Pope Francis thus permitted a false worship service and a mockery of the Eucharist in the Basilica of St. Bartholomew. That's a manifestation of heresy and more proof that he's a non-Catholic antipope. On the same day, Francis engaged in an ecumenical Vespers prayer service in St. Paul's outside the walls. He also recently permitted an Anglican evensong service in St. Peter's Basilica. All of that is totally condemned by Catholic teaching and by valid popes. See our video, Vatican II is a New Religion, which cites various popes, decrees of Roman congregations, etc., to show how the Catholic Church has never allowed participation in non-Catholic worship. To hold joint prayer services, engage in ecumenical prayer events, etc., is to participate in non-Catholic worship. That has always been forbidden by the Catholic Church under pain of mortal sin, because non-Catholic worship is, by definition, idolatrous or illicit. Hence, to approve it or actively participate in it is to join yourself to that which is idolatrous or illicit. As Pope Pius XI taught, this apostolic see has never allowed its subjects to take part in the meetings or assemblies of non-Catholics. Now, what's very interesting is that last April, an Anglican bishop celebrated a similar fake mass in the Basilica of St. John Lateran. At the time, Anti-Pope Francis was receiving criticism for having allowed this, but a demonic anti-pope splainer, whose lies, heresies, and false statements we've refuted many times, came out and attacked those who were saying that Francis was responsible for having allowed this, as if Anti-Pope Francis would never allow such a thing. Here's what he said on April 21st, 2023.
Spreading the lie that Pope Francis allowed a fake mass by a fake bishop on an altar in Rome. The claim is Pope Francis allowed it to take place at St. John Lateran's Basilica. And this is a lie. This is spreading a lie, misinformation, and stirring people up in their passions to get people all, angry and upset with Pope Francis.
Well, now it's beyond dispute that Francis permitted Welby, a fake bishop, to celebrate a fake mass on an altar in Rome, the very thing the dishonest anti-pope splainer claimed it was a lie to attribute to Francis. That's another example of the proverb, which states that an evil man is ensnared by the transgression of his lips. Those who lie, defend evil, defend heretics, mislead, etc., eventually get crushed by the weight of reality. What's sad is that anyone is foolish enough to follow them and embrace their lies. Francis and the Anglican Welby also gave a joint ecumenical, commission to the, bishops, another manifestation that they are both part of an ecumenical sect, not the Catholic Church. Indeed, one of Anti-Pope Francis's many heresies is that he teaches that all the baptized are inside the Church of Christ, which is blatantly contrary to Catholic dogma.
In virtù del nostro battesimo, tutti formiamo l'unico corpo di Cristo. Le diverse membra, infatti, formano un solo corpo.
The false ecumenism, interfaith worship, etc. of the Vatican II sect is, in many ways, the most obvious heresy of the Vatican II counterchurch. And frankly, one can defeat the position of any defender of Anti-Pope Francis or the Vatican II anti-popes by just focusing on this heresy alone. There's so much evidence against it, and there's so much teaching in favor of it in the writings and documents of the Vatican II anti-popes. When people see the false ecumenism, the joint prayer services, etc., they should immediately recognize that this is not the Catholic religion. The Vatican II religion represents a clear break from Catholicism. And if you can't see that, then in charity you just don't have the Catholic faith. As our material explains, the Vatican II sect under Anti-Pope Francis is not the Catholic Church, it's the Whore of Babylon, the prophesied end times counterchurch. The Catholic Church still exists, it's the one true church, but it has been reduced to a remnant during this great apostasy, as prophesied. And we're way beyond the point of evidence with Anti-Pope Francis. If you can see what he's done and the relevant Catholic teaching, and you still think he's the Pope, then your problem is spiritual. The problem is not a lack of evidence. You simply, in charity, don't have any faith. You need to stop seeking the approval of other people, seek God's will alone, and pray for the grace of true supernatural faith. And that's why people who try to compare the rejection of the Vatican II antipopes with Protestantism, or simply picking and choosing which popes one will accept, are totally wrong and frankly blind. They simply do not have the grace to recognize the clear departure from the faith that is evident in the activity and the teaching of these revolutionaries, John the 23rd through Francis. They don't have the grace to see it. They just can't see the clear departure. Since they have no supernatural faith and only believe in buildings, not in Catholic principles, they think that whoever is in possession of the Catholic building, even if he notoriously promotes a false religion, is to be considered part of the church or the representative of the church, and that's totally wrong. They believe in buildings, not in God, and not in Catholic principles. Moreover, it must be kept in mind that the false ecumenism exhibited here by Antipope Francis was officially endorsed in Vatican II and the official teaching of Antipope Paul VI, John Paul II, and Benedict XVI. They were all antipopes. The current apostasy in Rome represents the fulfillment of apocalyptic prophecy. It should also be noted that basically all of the quote bishops in the Vatican II sect, even the ones who are considered conservative, accept this false ecumenism, as we showed in our recent video on Strickland. The Vatican II sect is not the Catholic Church. To be a true Catholic and be saved, one must be a traditional Catholic, as our material explains.